My name is Tiz, and I am 61 years old. And the night I accidentally overheard a conversation between my son and his wife, I learned a truth that changed the way I saw my family, my home, and even myself. It was a calm autumn evening. The wind outside carried the soft rustling of leaves across the yard. I had just finished watering the old oak tree in the backyard, the same tree my son and I planted together when he was just a little boy. That tree had grown tall over the years. But that night, something inside me felt as if it had suddenly grown very small. I was walking down the hallway holding a warm cup of tea when I heard voices coming from the living room. My son Daniel and his wife Claire were talking. At first I didn't pay attention. Young couples often talk about work, plans, or daily problems. I respected their privacy. But then I heard something that made my feet stop mid-step. Claire said quietly, "Just give it a little time. Soon this house will be ours anyway." My heart skipped. I froze in the hallway. Daniel replied with a nervous tone, "I know, but my dad isn't going anywhere. He still thinks this place belongs to him." The teacup trembled slightly in my hands. I slowly stepped closer to the wall, not wanting to believe what I was hearing. Claire sighed. "Well, he's 61 already. People his age shouldn't be living alone in such a big house. A retirement place would actually be better for him." Her voice sounded calm. "Practical. Cold." Daniel stayed silent for a moment, then said something that pierced my heart deeper than any knife could. "If he moves out, we could renovate the place and sell it later. Property here is worth a lot now." In that moment, the hallway felt colder than winter. This house, the house I had built with my own hands, the house where my son took his first steps, the house where my late wife and I shared our dreams. And now it was being discussed like a business opportunity. I quietly turned around and walked back to my room without making a sound. That night sleep never came. Memories that built a home. I sat near the window, staring at the backyard. Moonlight gently illuminated the old oak tree Daniel and I planted together decades ago. Back then, life was different. I was young. My wife Maria was alive. And Daniel was a small boy who believed his father could fix anything. I worked 2 jobs during those years. During the day, I repaired cars at a small mechanic shop, and at night I fixed farm machines in nearby towns. Every dollar I saved went into building this house. I remember carrying bricks with tired arms, while Maria stood nearby holding Daniel in her arms. She used to say with a warm smile, "One day Daniel will bring his own family here." She was right, but I don't think she imagined this kind of future. Maria passed away 12 years ago after a long illness. Those were the hardest years of my life. The house felt empty after she was gone. But when Daniel and Claire moved in last year, I believed the house would feel alive again. I thought family meant comfort. I thought love meant respect. But sometimes life gently opens our eyes in ways we never expect. A painful realization. That night I asked myself many questions. Had I failed as a father? Had I spoiled my son too much? Or had I simply expected too much from him? But deep down, I knew something important. Daniel wasn't a bad person. He was just lost in the practical thinking of adulthood. Money, property, future plans. Sometimes people get so busy planning tomorrow that they forget the sacrifices of yesterday. And Claire, perhaps she never truly understood the story behind these walls. How could she? She hadn't lived it. But hearing them talk about my life as if it were an obstacle that hurt in a way words cannot describe. Still, anger never came. Instead, I felt something else. Clarity. the decision that changed everything. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. Sunlight slowly filled the kitchen as I made coffee. Daniel and Claire were still asleep. For the first time in many years, I made a decision purely for myself. I picked up my phone and called an old friend. "Harold," I said when he answered. Harold Bennett had been my lawyer friend for nearly 30 years. "Well, 'tis," he laughed. "You only call when something serious is happening." I smiled faintly. "You're right, I need to update my will." There was a pause. "Everything all right?" he asked carefully. "Yes," I replied calmly. "Everything is finally becoming clear." 2 days later, I sat in his office. For 3 hours we talked about life, family, and the future. When I finally signed the documents, I felt a strange sense of peace. Not revenge. Not anger. Just peace. The dinner conversation. A week later, I invited Daniel and Claire for dinner. The atmosphere was warm and normal. Claire complimented the food. Daniel talked about work. But inside my mind, I knew an important moment was coming. After dinner, I placed my hands calmly on the table. "I want to share something with both of you," I said. Daniel looked slightly worried. "What is it, Dad?" I took a slow breath. "Last week, I accidentally overheard a conversation between the two of you." The room became silent. Claire's face turned pale. Daniel looked shocked. "I didn't mean to listen," I continued gently, "but I heard enough." Daniel lowered his head. "Dad, I raised my hand kindly. "It's all right, let me finish." I looked around the dining room. "This house," I said softly, "means different things to each of us." Claire swallowed nervously. "To you," I continued, "it may look like valuable property." Then I looked at Daniel. "But to me, it is my life." I told them about the nights I spent building the house after working long hours. I told them about Maria sitting on the steps bringing lemonade. I told them about planting the oak tree with Daniel. By the time I finished, Daniel had tears in his eyes. The surprise. I then placed an envelope on the table. "This is a copy of my updated will." Daniel looked confused. Claire looked frightened. I spoke calmly. "When I pass away, this house will not be sold." They stared at me silently. "It will become a community learning center for children who need guidance and education." Daniel whispered, "A community center." "Yes," I said gently. "A place where kids without opportunities can study, learn skills, and dream about their future." Claire looked shocked. "But why would you give it away?" I smiled softly. "Because this house was built with love, and love should continue helping people." A son's regret. Daniel suddenly stood up. Tears ran down his face. "Dad, I'm so sorry." His voice trembled. "I never meant to hurt you. I just got caught up thinking about money and the future." He wiped his eyes. "I forgot about the past." Claire also spoke quietly. "I'm sorry too, Mr. Tiz. I didn't understand what this home truly meant to you." For a moment the room was silent. Then I stood up and hugged my son. "People make mistakes," I said softly. "But good people learn from them." A new chapter. Over the next few months, something beautiful happened. Daniel began helping me restore parts of the house. Not to increase its value, but to protect its history. Claire started volunteering at local tutoring programs for children. One afternoon she told me, "Mr. Tiz, your idea about helping children, it changed the way I see life." And for the first time in many years, the house felt alive again. Laughter returned. Respect returned. Family returned. The moral. Life teaches us many lessons, but one truth stands above them all. A home built with love should never become just a piece of property. Money can buy houses, but it cannot buy memories. It cannot buy sacrifice. And it cannot buy the quiet love that parents give their children every single day. Sometimes people forget the value of what they already have. But when wisdom finally arrives, it can turn regret into growth. And that night, when I overheard a conversation behind a door, I didn't lose my family. I helped them rediscover what truly matters.